Welcome back to another episode of the Strange Motion Way podcast. I am your host, Tim Strange, along with my hostess with the mostest,
Carrie Strange.
This one's really amazing. Some great history in this one. That's what we like, the hot rod and custom history. Customs are most dear to my heart. I wish I could just build customs and lead sleds all day long. So this one is really great. The Kustom Kemps of America.
KKOA.
With Jerry and DeVona Titus. They started KKOA in the 80s and still running it today.
It was great to have DeVona sit in with us. We recorded this a year and a half ago in Tulsa at the Starbird Show. She really didn't want to get away from their booth, but once we finally got her to commit and come in, I think she really enjoyed it. It was great to have her as a part of this podcast.
Yeah, she says a couple funny things about them starting the date that I thought was hilarious. And a little note on the top of the KKOA. Since that, I got inducted in their Hall of Fame last summer.
You did. It was awesome. We were at the show last July and look forward to going back this July. So make sure you mark it on your calendars for the KKOA July show, July 26th, 7th, and 8th in Salina, Kansas. Let's hear from Jerry and DeVona Titus. The Strange Motion Way podcast, brought to you by Royal Purple Synthetic Oils.
Royal Purple premium synthetic motor oils and high-performance chemicals have been designed to improve performance in all conditions and provide cleaner operation, better mileage, and decreased oil change frequency. That means less oil changes. With products available for your gasoline and diesel engines, Royal Purple is the obvious choice for your performance needs. Drive with Royal Purple, the synthetic expert. So welcome. Here we are with another interview of our podcast. We are currently sitting in a room at the Darryl Starbird Show in Tulsa, Oklahoma with, I'm going to say that part of the royalty king and queens of the custom car world, Jerry and DeVona Titus. They're from Kansas area, and that area was a custom hotbed growing up. A lot of people think Southern California, but definitely a custom hotbed. We're going to touch on that. They started the Merc Deuce reunion in '79, which turned into the Kustom Kemps of America, which they still run to this day. They started it. They still run it. They put out the magazine. He has also been inducted in the Starbird National Rod and Custom Car Hall of Fame, and he is on the board. And they still, as I say, run one of the coolest custom car shows every year in Salina, Kansas. They're called the Lead Sled Spectacular. So welcome, the Tituses.
Well, thank you. It's very, very big deal for me, to hopefully get it out across the country.
Yep.
Even though we have members in Kustom Kemps of America nationwide, again, I'd like to go out.
Worldwide, basically, you have members worldwide.
Oh, yeah, we have international members too. So, yes.
So let's go back a few years, if we can click the clock back a little bit. How did you get started in cars? Did you grow up? Did your family, a little history, were you a troublemaker in high school or what? I just think you were a troublemaker. I don't know why.
Well, I don't know actually when it hit me about customs, but it didn't take me long to figure out when I was in high school that if you wanted to be a big shot in high school, especially in your late years of high school, you had to be one or two things. You had to either be a jock and be in all the sports and everything, or you had to have the coolest car in the parking lot. And I'm not a big, fan. I watch in some of the sports, but no, I'm 100% custom.
That's why we're buddies.
24/7.
Not a sports guy either. Yeah.
24/7. And another thing about an asset of being a custom guy is if you're dragging Main Street back in the 50s and 60s, the only way you would get that cheerleader driving Daddy's car is to have the coolest car.
That's how I got this cheerleader.
That's right.
I was
That's
never a
right.
cheerleader. I was in pep club, which is lower.
But that was the way it is, and back then. And as I've gone through the era of Kustom Kemps of America up until today, it's real hard to explain what a custom is. So what I've done is I've looked at the guys that own customs, and I tell them, you know what you are? And they're looking. I said, you're an artist.
Mhm.
A guy that owns a custom car, even if he don't build it himself or he has somebody build it for him, is an artist. He don't want to have a car parked in his driveway that looks like his neighbors that are stock.
Yep, I agree with that. Yep.
And so a lot of them say, I'm not an artist. I say, yes, you are an artist. Whether you know it or not, you don't want to drive a stock looking car. You want to customize your car. And basically, it's a little strange. I've overdone my part of it. Now I can't even live in a stock house. I customize my house.
That's funny. I have that question on my list here towards the end. So,
Okay. But we're artists, and that's all you can say. Because, you know, and I know as we been living our life, I've seen artwork, normal artwork, said, not connected with the automobiles, but it's, you know, you may agree and you may not agree with it.
Mhm.
But it's your
That's why when you walk through a car show, they're not all red 32 Fords or Candy Brandywine Chop 50 Mercs.
No.
This guy sees this guy wants a Mopar or whatever. That's what makes it cool. If it was all the same cars, we'd all be married to the same woman.
That's
So, right? We'd all,
Well, that's
blondes, brunettes,
exactly
it's the same. It's your taste of what you want. So,
That's exactly right. See?
He's owned a lot of cars. He's owned a lot of old cars.
Mhm.
Right now, he doesn't have an old custom, but he likes it.
he what? Say that again.
He
I think this interview is over right now. This interview is over right now.
likes the NCC.
Yeah.
He
I
was-
thought you bought, don't you have one of Eldon's old cars?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we can continue with the interview then. It's okay. So as you were in high school and cruising, what were you cruising? What was your first car that you modified and were cruising in?
Well, my first car was a 50 Chevy, and I ran it off in the ditch. But it wasn't customized. I was just learning how to drive.
And how old were you?
Oh, I was 16 time. But as I grew just a little bit older, I started, thinking. But I really didn't think that the cars were what made general public think of you, being a car guy of any kind. I made a mistake. I found Darryl Starbird Star Custom Shop, and I had my Mercury at that time, 51 Mercury.
So you're saying Darryl was your gateway drug?
Definitely. And
So you grew up around Darryl.
oh yeah,
What town was this? So people know.
Wichita,
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 Kansas.
Kansas. Star Custom Shop. In Wichita, there was two custom shops, Kansas Custom and Star Custom. And I found Kansas first, so I thought, man, this is cool. This is the best. And then I found Darryl and his shop. Well, at that time, a guy named Dave Stuckey, was working there. And he was driving a 32 Ford sedan to work. So on the weekends, I'd go to Star Custom and work there for Darryl. I was go for boy, gopher, and any dirty job they had, I had to do. But
I understand that. I've been that chase it guy for Darryl
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
So real quick before I forget, who owned that first shop? I don't know if I've ever heard of that, the Kansas Customs. Do you remember the guy that owned that?
sure I do. It was Harold Perry
Okay.
was his name, and again, he was a good guy. I liked him, but I really didn't. I'd heard about Star Custom, but I had never been there and seen it.
So
It was in a different part of Wichita.
probably on the bad side of tracks, right?
Well, Star Custom Shop was on track.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
You better
So
go.
Dave Stuckey driving a 32, is that the car that ended up being Little Coffin?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
that's very cool.
And you know what? A little story about that. When I was working there at the shop, Dave Stuckey would never say one cuss word in his entire life. I know it. I know him well enough that he was a very, very. I'd see him smash his fingers or something. He'd go, darn, darn, darn. But he would never cuss.
What a unique individual that guy is.
He was a great guy. And I liked David. And Darryl was married at the time. So him and Donna were married. And Darryl worked 8 to 5, right, at the shop. And then, basically our hours at Star Custom. And on Saturday, when I could go down there and work all day because I was out of school, Dave started one time with me. He says, he come to me and he go, Jerry, he says, if you get a break today, why don't you, he drove that 32 Ford to there. He said, if you want to go out there and wash up that, my car today, then you and DeVona, I was dating her at the time, and his girlfriend, Sherry, would, he said, we could go up on Douglas Avenue and drag Douglas. That was the main drag in Wichita. And so I'd go out there and I'd bust my tail washing it up and cleaning it up and everything. And then the first time he came to me, he just said, at the end of the day, he said, gosh, I got to go do this and do that, right?
See where this is going.
So it didn't happen.
But he got a nice clean car out of you.
Yeah.
Sucker.
And so the next Saturday, it was the same song and dance. And he said, yeah, we could. His girlfriend was Sherry, and I had DeVona, of course. And he said, if you go out there and clean it up today. I was, okay. So I went out there the second time, cleaned it up again. Same old song and dance at 5 o'clock. Oh, darn, I got to do this. Keep in mind, never cuss. He said, darn, I got to do this and do that. So anyway, on that third time, it was third Saturday, he came to me and I said, it ain't going to happen, Dave. I'm not going to go out there and watch that. And he just started laughing like he really got the best of me.
Or at least you learned after like 2 or 3 instead of like 12 times later. Yeah.
But he was a dear friend. Dave was.
About what year was this when you started hanging around the custom shop?
It would have to be, I don't know.
You're still in high school? You're still in high school?
Before 60.
Still in high school?
Yeah, I was in.
So that was one of my questions
Oh, yeah.
when you guys got together. Was it? So-
1958, I lived across the street from a grocery store where he worked. That's how I met Jerry. And he
Was it because of his car?
well, probably, but it wasn't chopped. It was a green.
Oh, you're a chop top girl. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then he had another girlfriend same time. So
Yeah, I
he
did.
went back with her. About 6 months later, here he comes, and he had the car chopped. and it was in primer red. And here he comes. So we started dating from then on.
See,
Yeah.
I had a Chevelle, but then I had a lowered pickup truck was my daily driver that we'd know each other from going to stock car race, small town, everybody. I knew her boyfriend at the time, which he can't remember names. So his name was Tim also. So so it's simple that way. But I wrecked my truck, and then I show up for our actual first date. I was driving my mom's car because she lived on a gravel road. I couldn't drive my Chevelle. And she comes to the door. She goes, well, where's your truck at? I go, you didn't hear I wrecked it last week. She goes, well, what are we driving? She's driving my mom's car. And in my mind still, she stood there for like a half hour. And then I go, you still want to go? And she's like, I guess so. It's like she almost didn't go.
I think I asked you, were you going to fix your truck?
Yeah. It's like, if I didn't, that's... The cars help guys like us get dates. Yeah.
Well, when I had my 51 Mercury, it was chopped. It was in primer.
That was your first chopped car?
Yeah, I didn't have any money to finish painting it and do everything. So when I first went out on a date with DeVona, I wheeled up in my Mercury. What'd your mom say about it?
She said there's something funny looking coming up in the parking lot there where I lived off of an alley in Wichita. And we couldn't figure out what it was because it was real low,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
And you're like, that's my man, Mama.
Yeah.
That's my man.
Well, then we were married. We're going together, and I graduated in 1960. And then he comes up and says, we got engaged that year. And he comes up and tells me that he's going to go on a tour with Darryl Starbird for 3 months. Well, my parents were strict. I had to give the ring back. We were no longer engaged.
Oh, wow.
And when he came back, he said, my dad said, if he comes back and you want to go back, fine. And he was gone with Darryl for 3 months. But he would call, check in.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we came back, got married in 1961.
So
The thing, she didn't finish completely.
We don't have time.
You know who the other one was that was going to go with us? Was Ed Roth.
Yeah.
Ed Roth came into Wichita with his trailer hooked to a new Cadillac. And inside was...
And this was 5960?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ed had the Outlaw in there. And Darryl had hooked up with Larrabee on a series of car shows for 6 weeks. So they decided, Darryl and Ed, that they would leave out of Wichita. So Ed drove into Wichita, and I knew he was coming because Darryl mentioned it, and I was pretty excited I was going to meet Ed Roth. And so Ed got into town. I was still in school, and Ed was in town, and they Stucky and Darryl pumped him up to say, Jerry's going to be coming down. Would you act like you're really excited about seeing him?
And if you talk to him right, he'll wash your vehicle for you.
Yeah, right. But when I walked in the door there at the shop, he goes, is this Jerry Titus? Oh, I've been wanting to meet him. I said, I'm looking, in awe of this. Here's my idol. Because Darryl was just my buddy. He lived there, and we, but, and Darryl was older than I am, too.
That was one question I had. So how old are you now?
Well,
You're 83.
Okay. So there's
And Daryl's
89. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
but anyway, that was 6 weeks of traveling. Oh.
So that was the tour that you went on, right? Before you got married, you toured with Ed Roth and Darryl Starbird.
Yeah.
For 6
and,
weeks.
And Starbird.
I'm sure we could tell a 4-hour interview just on those weeks right there. How awesome is that?
See, Darryl was pulling with the Predictor at that time, the first bubble. Darryl was pulling it in a trailer, and Darryl had bought a brand. I was standing around shop there one day, and he said, Jerry, let's run it downtown. we went right downtown there to the Buick agency, and Darryl bought a brand new 1959 Buick two-door hardtop. And that day, we drove it off the showroom floor. That's the way Darryl does it. And we drove down to shop. The very next day, he started customizing that Buick and painted it and everything. And so here we got the 59 Buick, and Roth has got the Cadillac with Outlaw inside. It wasn't, the Cadillac wasn't, but it was new. Anyhow, I was the outsider kind of, because I would help drive one day. I'd help Ed drive his car, or I'd help. And Darryl, you can't give Darryl steering wheel at night because he goes to sleep while driving. I think he still does.
I don't like to give Darryl a steering wheel in the daylight anymore. So.
But anyway, it was a 6 weeks of my life that I can tell you, I just can't believe.
This is like somebody saying, "Oh, I was a roadie for the Rolling Stones," or somebody like that back then. It's totally that, right?
Yeah. And Ed was such a gentleman. Everybody thought he was a wild rat, right? No, he was a very.
Yeah, we got pitted next to him at an indoor show a couple times, and when he did the Beatnik 2000, we set up by him before, and it was pretty cool. So, what's the?
He had a hot dog laying up on the dairy.
And still, all these years later, he would do that same thing.
Well,
truck stop pizza, hot dogs, everything.
He had a hot dog up there on that. And, like I said, every other day I'd change off on who I was going to be driving for. And I noticed a hot dog laying up there. And when we left Wichita, and then we went along, and a couple of the times I changed. And about the third time when I was changed to where I was driving for him, I noticed the hot dog was still up there.
Was it getting shorter?
Just shrinkling on the side.
No, it didn't get shorter. It was up there all out. Finally, I thought, I'm going to ask him, what's with the hot dog, Ed? Oh, I bought that in Arizona.
Oh.
I said, okay. That's all he said. Didn't say anything. And so the next time I took over driving for Ed, the hot dog was gone. I don't know if he ate it.
I guarantee he ate it. Because when we were at the show, it was in Davenport, Iowa. He pulled up, he was pulling the Beatnik 2000, the yellow one that he did, the modern version. Exactly. And he had his little, it was like a Mazda vehicle, pulling a little enclosed car trailer, set up his shirts. When he pulled in on setup day, there was hot dogs and pizza on the dash. Every day he'd get something to eat that. Just sitting out and I go, how can you eat that? He goes, I've always done that. He goes, because I've trained my stomach with all the traveling. He goes, I can eat the weirdest foods. And he says, I never get food poisoning. I never get upset stomach because,
He never explained it to me.
That was too early in life.
You were probably too scared to ask him questions at that time. I was just like, what is wrong with you?
Well, he's a great guy. I'll tell you the only other thing, this is the last story about Ed Roth, was Darryl and Ed were getting paid $500 each for every show that they did for Little League.
That was pretty good money back then.
Yeah, it was. And so, anyhow, he just, Ed just, he's just so kind. But what we would do back then, this is 1960s, Holiday Inns was, you went in there and rented a room, and they were trying to keep as much money to themselves as they could, so we stayed at Holiday Inns. And they only had one bed. It wasn't no king-size bed, it was bed. So what we decided on was us three would flip a coin and see who would have to sleep with who, and the other one had to sleep on the floor. And so the nights that I had to sleep with Ed, I weighed 150 pounds. He weighed about 250 pounds at the time. He was a big boy, but he was restless as crap. And he would smash me up against the wall. and then when we'd go into a restaurant, we'd order our food up, and if I didn't eat all my stuff on the deal, he'd go, "Are you going to eat that?" I said, "No, I'm full." He'd just break it off and he'd eat it.
Oh, I was saying, oh, he put it on the dash of the vehicle. That's what I was saying.
No.
Here's some leftover biscuits and gravy for tomorrow.
And by the time we got, 3 or 4 shows in a week, 3 weeks, and I told Darryl, I said, I'm sick of it. I'm not going to, I don't want to go any farther. But I was somewhere, I don't remember, Colorado or someplace. But not really. I said it to Darryl, but I didn't mean it. And so we had to pull through. But it was 6 weeks.
You were homesick. You were missing DeVona, weren't you?
Well, yeah, I was missing them. And I don't know. We came. What I'm told you so far is I could write a whole book.
No.
You should.
In 6 weeks.
You should.
Yeah.
With that.
Definitely should. Or we can just, every time we see you, we're going to record another interview. Here is week 1. The next interview, seriously. And then have somebody take that recording and write a book. That would, yes.
Well, and he was the kindest man. Darryl and I clicked right off. Him and I were right on about everything. That's how we got close. In fact, when we at the last finale, just before Donna passed away, see, DeVona and Donna would go shopping every Thursday. They'd get together and go shopping. And then on the Friday nights, we would go out for dinner at a casino. And
Well, early in their life, we went to a movie back then. We went
yeah,
to
right,
movies.
right.
And then
Right.
but then later in the years, they moved from Mulvane, Derby, to back to Oklahoma. Well, by then we moved to Missouri from Kansas, but we're an hour and a half away, so we meet every weekend.
So the
And
question all the car people want to know, did you guys drive separate cars, or did you have to wash his car so you could go on the double date that Stucky or he's promised you?
Darryl and Donna was raising their families, so then when they were raising the kids,
Yeah.
Do you guys have kids?
we
You
have
do.
one daughter.
Okay, yeah, you have a daughter that
No.
she comes to the show.
Yeah.
She's a t-shirt fairy.
Yeah.
She does all the
Yeah, yeah,
t-shirt.
yeah.
But see, Darryl and Donna's kids are my kids, really,
Yeah.
because we've seen them.
So you're to blame for some of that?
Huh?
You're to blame?
No.
Cliff was hassling me
No.
last night, so yeah. Yeah.
The only one we didn't see
But
more
they are my kids.
was Deborah. Debbie was about 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. She was.
Then we seen all the others.
So you really need to, I'm serious, I'm going to backtrack. You need to put notes down on the 6-week trip. I wrote a story that I've talked to a couple magazines. The very first time I took a bunch of pictures that I spent a week with Darryl working in the shop. It's titled My Week with Darryl Starbird.
Yeah.
So I think that stuff is very interesting. I'm a history buff, and there's a lot of people would buy that story.
I got
Well,
a scrap
Yeah.
that everything that Daryl's done, I
See,
put it in the
things-
scrap.
people don't know. You don't dare let Darryl drive at night because he goes to sleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Daytime,
You will.
Donna did a lot of driving
Yeah.
when they started.
Yeah. And it was just a habit to him, and, But, we had one scary incident, but we won't go into
Another section.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have some questions here. So you were worried about talking and having stuff to say, and this is seriously what happened. We are now to my question number 2.
I know. I know, Jerry.
We've jumped around a little bit. So I want to touch on another great guy that we all miss, your brother Eldon.
Yes.
So Eldon was, I forget again, younger or older?
Oh, he's 8 years younger.
Younger.
Yeah.
And did he come around the custom shop when you were there? Was he always the annoying little brother, or did he get into cars later?
Eldon Eldon was an artist too.
Yeah.
Yes, he
He's
was.
cool.
He's cool.
And when he would be doing his, studying and everything,
Yeah.
he would be an artist. And he would, in his early days, he would draw pictures of cars.
Yeah.
And, he'd take them up. He knew I liked cars, everything. But when he finally got old enough that he was in high school, and what we would do, DeVona and I, we were living in town, Wichita, in a little suburb town there, just south of us. And I'd go get Eldon after he got out of high school, that class, and I'd bring him up to our house for the weekend.
Every
And
weekend.
So we would, at that time, we were building model cars. And Eldon would do whatever.
Which he still did. He was in charge of the model car show at Let's Spectacular. He was still a big model guy, wasn't he, his whole life.
He was. And so him and I went and got the model for the Voodoo Spider, which was a pretty famous car that Eldon built. That was his first radical. That car was built from nothing. He didn't have none.
I think he told me there was about this much of an S10 chassis in there someplace or something like that. Yeah.
Jaguar.
But
Jaguar rear, I think the front's, yeah.
it's
wild.
We built a model first, and then I'd bring Eldon up, and we would tie a string onto that model and put it up on our dining room table. And we'd pull it across and look at it. And Eldon was
The old time.
young. He couldn't drive yet. But we'd pull it across and we'd look at it. And Eldon says, I'll never forget it. He says, someday I'm going to build that car.
Oh, so he built the Voodoo Spider as a model as a little kid.
Yeah, we used to have
Absolutely.
the model in the
And then
museum.
how many years later he built the car in real life? 40 years later?
No.
I can't remember when he built it.
30? It was a while, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember when that car was new, the Voodoo Spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
When was that built? Early 2000s?
2005 or 6.
Okay.
Because the next car would have been the Vibrasonic he was building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
built
had
two.
cancer so bad. And then passed away. And the guys, his friends, built it for him
Yeah.
and finished it.
Yeah.
I remember,
And
because I talked to him every once in a while. We'd call and talk.
he passed away in 2008.
And
Oh,
somebody told me, you need to call and talk to him again. And I remember the day I called, his wife says he can't come to the phone today. And it was either the next day or the day after I heard him pass. So I tried at the end of, we didn't talk often, but every couple months we get on the phone. What are you working on? Or talk in the wintertime and
Yeah.
stuff. And then we'd talk. And I really liked him. It was a very big honor at your show one year that when they first did the first Eldon Titus Memorial Award,
Yeah.
I got the first one ever.
You did?
Yep. With that copper Buick that we brought.
And you was in.
I got the first one.
Well,
It's actually sitting on our mantle in our living room.
that
Yeah.
right?
That meant
Well-
so much to me to get that. I'm getting
Yeah.
my hair standing up on my arms right now. I really liked him. I'm not saying he was my favorite Titus, but I really liked your brother. I really liked your brother.
Yeah.
This is being recorded, DeVona. This is being recorded.
It's okay.
He,
I always told him, Jerry's a square. I married the wrong guy. They don't like to dance.
Awesome.
but to say the least, I had kind of advantage over other people. I had a brother that could build any car I wanted
Yeah.
and customize.
I mean, it was known. I mean, I'm obviously a little bit younger than you, but I got my uncle's custom magazines and I read the old stuff that, from when I wasn't buying magazines and got,
Yeah.
that's why I'm a big history guy. But I would read stuff, the Titus brothers of this car and worked on it. And it was really cool. Like you say, when you met Ed Roth, when I met the Tituses, I was pretty excited to meet.
Wow.
And me and, kind of jumping ahead, but me and some friends were sitting in the hotel lobby last night and talking about, me and Chris Ryan are like brothers. We met at your show.
He's a good guy.
Chris Carlson. I met that family at your show. I've met so many people the coolest guy I met Gary. Gary Howard came up to me and introduced himself, and I was just blown away. Oh my God, I'm meeting Gary Howard. You know, it was like custom guys are what's that basketball guy that's got a shoe? Michael Jordan. Yeah, all these guys that I'm a pleasure to know and get to talk to are my Michael Jordans, because I wasn't a sports guy. You guys were on my wall and everything like that. So it's really pretty cool. So, so speaking of can you talk about some of the cars that you and your brother built? I remember there was a section Buick with fender flares and wire wheels, and you guys had that kind of they call that the Wichita look of the fender flares of an era.
Exactly. See, during his lifetime there, we lived pretty close together. Even after we were both married, you know, him and his wife were married. So, say the least. But I had an 8-to-5 job too at the time.
What were you doing then?
I was working for the park department of Wichita, and but again, you know, him and I and Darryl and him were buddies too, and it's been a good run, you know, between Darryl and the Titus family. Actually, the Titus family is the best way to explain it to customers. Girls, the kids, Christy, and everybody here, you know, Christy, I love her.
Yeah.
She's
Eldon built, is it a 49 Buick Crimson Skull?
right, the Crimson Skull, made the cover.
And then Jerry bought it from him and owned it, and we got rid of it.
Yeah.
He had we had a 54 Buick, Eldon painted and customized.
That was sectioned. That's the one I'm remembering.
No.
Right? Was that one sectioned or no?
No, we didn't have it.
Not that Buick.
And it wasn't even chopped. It was just painted.
No, but there was something
Layouts.
about it. Yeah, he
57 DeSoto we had.
you couldn't say it was a mild custom because it wasn't. It was very photographic and everything. Ellen did the right touches on it. He was very good about that.
Or DeSoto.
And
Oldsmobile. 50
yeah, we had went through our
58 Chrysler.
Finn cars, you know. That were.
No, I wish we had them all back.
Yeah.
And you know, when Eldon built my, I built a kind of a van. What was the red one? It was a Chevy.
Oh, panel truck. It was that panel
Panel
truck. 48 panel truck.
Yeah.
It was
Eldon
all
built it,
customized.
and it was one of his early ones when he was getting into it. And every time we do a little bit of work on it, we would crank it up and drive out to Darryl's place, and we'd ask him, "Is this done right? You know, is this?" Eldon wanted to know if Darryl approved of it, and we did that a lot until Eldon just finally came into reality, and he could do anything. He was very, very talented, and he was a good guy. And
What was his last build going to be? Like a rocket car. And he made a drawing and made a model car with great big wings on the back.
he was real
That's
good
his
about
next.
that model, building the model first, and then he'd build off of that.
That's a good way to do it. I like
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took a Corvette. That it would be a winner too. Then he also got married to Tammy, and Tammy was a great gal. She is a great gal, still is. She lives out in Texas. But when Tammy decided that she was going to sell off, she had the Voodoo Spider and
Vibrasonic too. Yeah.
so when she was going to sell it, I came to DeVona and I said, "Honey, we can't really afford it, but I want that Voodoo Spider bad."
It was still in the museum, and Darryl was clearing out the cars. And that wasn't going to Speedway. You know.
And so luckily, you know, me and my banker, we like each other. And I went to him because, you know, I didn't want to cheat her out of it. I didn't want to beat her up. I didn't want nothing. I said, what are you going to have, Tammy? So man.
We're not going to say the number on the
No.
microphone, but I know what she wanted for that, and they were very, very, very affordable. Or what those cars are. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Came back and told DeVona, and she said, let's do it.
So where is that car now?
It's in
It's
the
in-
museum.
Oh, it's in your.
I'm
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Now Darryl called Jerry, and he said, "I loved Eldon, and I thought a lot of him. I want to buy the Viper song."
And is it in
And he
the
says, "I
museum
want
too?
you to
It's up
say
in
it's your."
Nebraska.
Oh, okay. It's at this museum.
Then he decided
It's up there. Yeah.
Yeah, during our lesled, they were both put in
Yeah.
in July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to kind of go in order, but we jump around a little bit. We'll
Yeah.
touch on your museum here
Okay.
at the end. So
Sure.
let's talk about you started. First was the Merc Deuce reunion show. What made you say, "Hey, I want to put on a car show"? What?
Well,
Because everybody that puts on car shows, I've
Well-
done it. I've helped. My wife works for a huge company that runs them all over the country now.
Yeah.
It is not for the lighthearted. A lot of people do one and say, "I ain't ever doing that again."
it looks so easy
Yeah,
to
even-
the outside.
Even a local club. I mean, we ran one in high school that she did registration when she was in high school that would get 200 cars. That's a lot of work. Just, get the sponsors and get the trophies. So what made you think, I want to do this?
Well, first I got educated by Darryl by doing all his shows from the beginning. Actually, DeVona and I were in on the very first one he did.
Yeah.
Very first one in Wichita.
Okay.
And her and I were dating at the time, but she helped out too.
And so what,
Uh,
I should probably know this. We talked to Darryl. What year was this, his first
Was
show?
it 59?
something, yeah.
But I didn't go till 60. First one in 60, but I
Yeah.
think he started his first one in 59.
So you helped him right from the start because you were hanging around the show.
Because I was working on weekends there, when I say I was working there, I didn't get paid, but I didn't care. I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And so Darryl
I
tolerated
think they call that an intern now. When you do the work, you don't really get
Okay,
paid.
yeah, call it that. But I learned how to all the tricks and trades of being a customizer.
Yep.
And but anyway, yeah, the very first one, Darryl came to me on when he was getting ready to promote the show and put it on. He said, I was on a Saturday. He says, "Jerry, why don't you take that 40 pickup I got?" He had a 40 pickup and plaster it with these 8.5 by having deals. And you and DeVona drive up and down Douglas tonight on Saturday.
On the sides of the car.
That's how you promoted it. And that's what we did for the very first
I wish you could still promote a car show like that. Now it'd be
Yeah.
so much more fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Instead
I
of,
know.
oh, I got to put it here in print. I got to buy an ad. I got to do a
Yeah.
radio
Yeah.
spot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interweb.
yeah, the interweb.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. That is, but that is the first one, and DeVona and I were involved in that.
Traveled to most
To
of the
help
shows.
Donna.
I sold tickets for Donna.
Yeah, Donna,
Darryl had to have Jerry help set up.
but
Albuquerque. Where did we go? Albuquerque and
yeah,
Oklahoma
Yeah.
City, Tulsa.
So
but Starbird
it was 20 years then of helping Darryl before you decided to do Merc Deuce reunion. Almost 20 years. 58 to 79 was the first Merc Deuce reunion, right?
Well, yeah, 79 was definitely, and when the reason I'd done the Merc Deuce reunion was I was reading all the hot rod magazines, and everything, and there really wasn't any true custom magazines out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just came to me. I said, I can put on a show. And it came to me. I'm sick and tired of the hot rods taking all the ink,
Mm-hmm.
and the customs aren't getting no.
Love. Yeah.
And so, next day when I woke up, I called Darryl. I said, Can I meet you tonight? So it was at a Pizza Hut down where you live. And he said, yeah. And so I went down there. I said, Darryl, I want to do a show dedicated to custom cars. I don't want no other cars. I don't want any other street rods or hot rods, because street rods were real big then. And I said, I feel that the customs are getting treated right. And I said, I'd do one where I won't let nothing in but a 49, 50, and 51 Mercurys. Because I knew them were the kings of customs. And that's what we did. I took $5,000. That's all I had in savings at the time. And I went to Kansas City, DeVona and I. And we put on the first show of Mercury. And I set it up that I was.
And that was where again? Kansas City?
Kansas City, Missouri. And I set it up on 5-year increments. And on the fifth one, there would be no more. And that's what we did.
I think I attended 2 of those through the years.
Have you?
Yep.
Well,
Because you did one in Davenport, Iowa.
Yes, we did.
That wasn't the last one.
No, I don't think
Is that the last?
Was the last one.
Okay.
We did one in Holland, Michigan, Des Moines, Iowa, and Wichita.
Yeah, I think I might have went to the Des Moines one with my uncle, maybe. But I think we know definitely because we lived close to Davenport. We were at Davenport.
Yeah.
And I think I attended 2 of those. So that's not too bad. Over 5.
Yeah.
Well, after I think it was the second or the third one that we were doing, we realized, we said, we changed the name from Mercdu's Reunion. We kept that part of it. And then we added and friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we started accepting the true hot rods. Not some plastic
But
cars.
you also kind of, on the other side, we're on the backside of a lot of car events. So it takes so much logistics, people, and everything. So you want to make some money while you're doing this. So if you let everybody else in, you get more entries. And it's still, you got to do, I understand.
Like the Mercduce.
Yeah.
It's like,
But after your first year running the Mercduce Reunion, and then in 1980, the Kustom Kemps of America founded, right?
Yeah.
right.
And when was the first KKOA branded event? I mean, technically the Mercduce was, and it was still a KKOA event, but like your first Lead Sled Spectacular, what year was it?
1981 in Wichita, Kansas at the Coliseum.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had
Yep.
385 cars.
And we put a restriction on that date, the age of the cars.
Yeah, we did.
Because we didn't want,
I think it was 1960 we had cutoff.
yeah.
Then we went to 64.
You weren't an NCC custom guy then.
No.
You
No,
weren't that.
I did not bring that NCC deal.
We started the late model division.
Yeah.
I can't remember what year that was.
Not
But
re-
we ran it for quite a few years, and then
I know I was out of high school when that happened.
yeah,
It was late 80s, mid 90s, something like that.
we went to Hannibal, Missouri, and we went to.
Oh, was it Hannibal, Missouri Lead Sled when they started there?
It was a late
Yeah.
model. Late model.
Okay, so I was still in high school because I went to that event with my uncle.
Okay.
I don't know if I had my driver's license yet at the Hannibal event. I was there. Every year every time we drive through there, what do I have to say?
Yeah.
Right down there, 2 blocks is where the car. She goes, you tell me this every single time. Yeah, me and my great uncle, we came to Hannibal together. Yeah.
I'll be done.
You know,
Well, wonderful.
I've been around more than you thought I have. I was a little nugget with no driver's license at a lot of these
He was
events.
still
so.
quiet. And didn't
Yeah,
like to
I was.
talk
I was
back
very
there.
quiet and shy back then. Like, yeah,
Quiet and shy.
I was
Yep.
terrible.
You kind of learn after a while. You got to say something, or you.
No, it's our passion, our love.
Yeah.
If you want me to get up and talk about home remodeling, well, wait, we have a question about that, don't we? Okay, I love mid-century modern homes. If you wanted me to talk about,
Oh,
I don't know, sports, I'd just be like,
No, he-
yeah.
Frank Lloyd Wright is my other hero in life.
Yes, I have a book of all the Frank Lloyd Wright.
I did.
2 years ago, we toured Falling Waters in Pennsylvania,
Also,
and then there's Right. We didn't make it to that one, but
Oh.
we went to a place where they have moved on the farm location. There's 3 of his houses, and you can tour them. You can
Oh,
actually stay
That's
overnight.
down there in Missouri.
No,
No, it's right there. Polymath Park.
Yeah. Is that in
Okay.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Yeah, not far. It's within 45 minutes of Falling Water.
Yeah.
Which Darryl also is, because I noticed at his house he's got a couple Frank Lloyd Wright books. But I have the book that, like, I get it out sometimes. Oh, I'm going here because I do race announcing on the weekends. I'm going here, and I look at this book, see if there's a home that I can see.
We have about 10 or 12
Yeah,
books.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. I've toured quite a few of the homes. Yeah,
We've done
So
3 homes.
today
One's in
we
Wichita.
not well, it's been 10 years now. When we moved out of Wichita,
22
after living
years.
there 50-some years, we moved down to the Ozarks with the true hillbillies. But we bought a lake home, and we lived there. But we did.
So while we're on this, we're going to jump ahead to one of my last questions.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your house. Yeah,
Okay.
we're now they're on the mid-century modern Frank Lloyd Wright stuff.
Yeah, we were living there.
We
And
moved to Cassville in 94.
yeah, Cassville was 20 minutes away from our lake home. And we were driving along, and there was this for sale sign, and this house sits up on a bluff. And right there in the city, I mean, we're talking dead center. There's this beautiful house, flat roof, just like that Frank Lloyd. And I said, "Do you see that? It's got for sale sign on it." And she said, so we went back, and it was like magic. We'd already toured so many Frank Lloyd Wright houses that it looked like it was built
Mm-hmm.
by Frank Lloyd. In fact, we've lived there now, how, 15,
23 years.
23 years. We've had several people come up to drive us real long. They'll pull up and they'll get out and they'll go, "We hate to bother you, but is this a Frank Lloyd Wright house?" And I'm kind to them, you know. I'll say, "Sure, no, it's not a Frank Lloyd Wright house, but it was built by an architect." And see, it's built into a rock quarry that was quarried in the 30s. So it's got this massive roll, and it's 5 acres in town. In town.
1957.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. I think that you put up at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
you have it filled with the proper furniture and everything, don't you? All the
Yeah.
mid-century
It's-
couches and
The furniture
Yeah.
was my sister and brother-in-law's, and they wanted just to get rid of it because they were
so
tired of it.
I bought stuff from her grandparents' estate auction.
But it's like a 1975
Yeah.
furniture,
Yeah.
but it's acrylic on the bottom, and real.
I'd like for you guys sometime, if you're in our neck of the woods, to come by.
I would love to see
We'll
it.
go over and look at that because it's like walking into history.
Because
Jerry's-
some of our custom friends, they're into that type too. And like people that know you, they're like, "Have you been to the Titus's house?" He says you'll absolutely love their place. So
Yeah, ask me. Right.
It's beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It is. But,
Jerry
You know.
customized it though. I mean, when
oh yeah.
we bought it, it's a fixer up.
Yeah,
because
it's-
nobody
Yeah.
fixed it.
Yeah.
We have a house. It was built in 75 or 6. It's up on acres up on the top of a hill. Nobody can see it, but you
Right.
can tell the guy that designed the house. He was a mid-century fan because
Yeah.
the living room has a big fireplace and it's got the post and beam and the floor to ceiling windows and it's got a lot of the new tone ceiling
Mhm.
fans and the intercom system and all that
Yeah,
stuff
we
in
don't
that
have-
thing. It's got a lot of that stuff and it's kind of built like a lot flattener house that they did in Southern California. It's L-shaped with all sliding windows facing the in-ground pool. And it doesn't fit into the town of Tennessee where we live, but
Yeah.
we seen it and fell in love and rented it for 7 years before we talked to lady and selling it to us. So
Yeah.
it's ours now. So.
You see, the Walton family owns Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 25 miles from us. Is the family?
Oh, okay. I got a really good friend that lives in Rogers. So
Yeah.
okay.
yeah,
yeah.
Rogers.
Yeah.
Well, that's
40 miles.
basically it. Well, see, the Waltons went and bought a Frank Lloyd Wright house back east. had it dismantled and
Yeah.
all the parts correct, and they brought it down there to Rogers
Mm-hmm.
and Crystal.
Crystal Bridges, what it's called.
Crystal Bridge
We
is
haven't
what
been
it's
there.
called.
So
And it's a free museum.
Oh, cool.
to go through.
they moved the house there.
And it's more of a garden with its sprinklers.
A lot of art.
See that Polymath Park? That's what there was a family, well-to-do family, and that's what they did. Is 2 of them are Frank Lloyd Wright houses, or 1 of them,
2 of them.
and then the other one was designed by one of his students, and they
Yeah.
labeled everything, disassembled it, put it on the property, and
Yep.
what an undertaking that would be, and saving everything.
You
Yeah,
know where
there's
Tally's restaurant is?
Mhm.
Well, that flea market right there, there's a Frank Lloyd Wright chair.
Oh,
So I said, we got to go look. $19,000 they won on it.
It's still there then, right? You didn't
Yeah.
buy it?
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's some good stuff, antique places on that road.
Yeah.
Over there. There's always some really
Yeah,
neat
right
stuff.
there on
Yeah.
that road there, because we bought a lot of, we're totally 100% contemporary,
Yeah.
you know, with our furniture.
Sometimes it's hard to find contemporary stuff.
Yeah.
You know, our daughters ordered a lot of the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff from the museums and stuff, and that's what she gives him for Christmas.
Cool.
So she spends her money.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever do get close, stop by.
Absolutely.
Give us a call.
Okay, so let's get back on track. I'll cross that question off. We got that. That was at the end of my list. So yeah, I knew we'd get to that. The KKOA, at one time you guys run 2 events now. Salina, Kansas is your big one, Lead Sled Spectacular. Always the last weekend in July. A great event. And then you do Maggie Valley now,
Yes.
which is the end of August
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
At one time, you guys did. What was the biggest year? How many events did you do for Kustom Kemps of America? The most that you ever did?
Well, what do we do?
Probably Holland, Michigan was a big show for us.
I mean, you used to do like 4 or 5 shows.
we
You
did
did.
8 shows.
8 shows was your biggest.
Shows.
What year was that when you did 8?
Oh, through
round-
the 80s,
Okay.
90s, 80s and 90s.
So you guys hit the ground running in 81,
We
putting
did,
on
yeah.
KKOA events, and then
Yeah.
blew up pretty quick.
Yeah. And
We did a little
then
bit.
the association members start
Yeah.
keeping
Yeah.
us nailed to the wall with our computers, because I was starting to do my magazines to the members. You know, that's everything was expanding at that time.
Yeah.
That took up our time. Pretty soon we couldn't do all of it.
Well, some's not feasible to do. So the ones that weren't, we dropped.
Yeah.
We did.
Plus, I had
And
to
people,
have a
like, again, on the
kid.
business side,
Yeah.
the ground rentals, that's not free. The
No,
security,
no.
the fencing, the EMTs, all that stuff, it all costs money.
It
Yeah.
does.
And even though we live in the middle of America, when I was doing Gettysburg
Mm-hmm.
there, I had Blaine Kaufman who lived there,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a key man. You got to have a key man.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're producing a car show here and there,
Yeah.
you got to have a key person that lives there that you can trust, and they go out and beat the bushes, and they'll run over there and look at the park, you
Yeah.
know, and see what it takes. In Gettysburg, we had that show built to 1,000 cars.
That was called Sled Scene East.
Yeah, I never made it to that. I always wanted to, but
That
never made
was
it
a
out
big
right.
show.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and we still had like 1964 year break on that.
That's right.
Yeah. We did. I did Holland once with my uncle.
Holland was another
The
good
first year
show.
that we took a car, was it Lansing?
Did Lansing?
It was. I think that was the last year Harry Bradley gave it his award in person. That he gave it to Mike Young's Exotica 60 Papa, which I got to see 2 weeks ago at the Roadster show. I still love that car. Yeah, but we brought a Pro Street chop top custom and got shot for custom rodder there on the grounds, and borrowed my dad's buddy's tow vehicle because we didn't have a truck that would make it that far, and then we brought 2 cars over Pennsylvania. I think it was right the last year before you moved it to Salina. What was that event? It rained most of the weekend. Or was Ohio? Almost Pennsylvania. It was Ohio.
Was it Mason?
No.
I can't.
Well, we
think.
did.
Hamilton,
Yeah.
Michigan, we did.
Was it that?
And we did.
Hamilton was a good show.
This would have been, I think it was the last year before you moved to Salina. It would have been, we had the Purple 54.
Oh, it was on,
2004, 5, right around there.
We had our dates set for everybody to know, and the city had something going on. They made us change our dates. So that show ended up flopping. That's when we decided.
It rained the
that
weekend we were there some too, so that hurts too.
We already had a regional scheduled at Salina just to do a small show. And we was coming home. I said, why don't we do a lead sled there? Because it's surrounded by cars in Wichita.
Oh, if people
He said,
listen to this have
it's not
never
big.
been to Salina, Kansas, it is the perfect location for a custom show.
We were
It's
in
the
that
town has a lot of cool
Right.
old buildings.
Yep,
Small
yep,
park.
right. The small park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look where it says. You've got I-70 going east and west.
Well, don't
And
they say it's
north
the
and
crossroads of
south.
America?
Crossroads
Don't they really say that? Don't
It
they?
is. They
Yeah.
even got a little
Nebraska.
statue out there.
But
Where it's the center of the lower 48 states.
I was talking about Travis Scanlon last night,
Yeah.
which he also does podcasts, and he was from there. And we were talking. I was like, Salina, it's such a clean town. It's such a clean town.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see trash. Every place you go to, the people are friendly. The restaurants love everybody.
They are.
I go to 14 events a year probably, and I do announcing for a bunch of stuff, and you just don't have towns that just throw out the welcome mat.
Yeah.
Because you go to Indianapolis, you go to Detroit, and they don't care if you're there because there's everything. In Nashville, it's like everything every weekend. You can't get hotels, but Salina appreciates it. You guys do the old school drags at the edge of town, and the city people and the country people come out in droves just to see those arm drop drags.
Yeah.
Yeah, the event it's really cool, and it's like if you've never been to Salina, Kansas, you got to do it. Go to the Lead Sleds. It's such,
Well, I have to say, when you were in the little park,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but you guys had a vendor that was there that had the best ribs I have ever had in my entire life.
they had this big
and they were
trailer, looked like a 48-foot enclosed car trailer,
Yeah.
and every day he cooked something else. I remember the guy was from Texas, and on Sunday he had ribs, and it's like I don't want to eat. I'm fussy on my ribs. I don't eat ribs at a car show. He goes,
Texas Red.
I'll give you your money back if you don't like it. And they gave us these 2 slabs. And I asked him at the end, because I'm a country boy. I've ate a lot of beef and pork. Go, what kind of meat is this? It had a different it was still, we still talk about that. We go to a restaurant. I go, how's your ribs? She goes, not as good as the ones I had in Salina. That food vendor, you don't know who that was, but you need to get them back. They were the best ribs I have ever had my entire life.
For a few years, but I don't know if when I'm going
And
to eat.
in that food line on Saturday for whatever they had that day was where I met Gary Howard. In that food line for that guy, yeah, it was in that food line. I met Gary Howard.
We met Gary Howard at one of our shows. Well, we met him in Des Moines because he lived in Iowa with his first wife.
Yeah.
And we met him, and then we did a show in Texas, Waco, Texas. We didn't call it the Lead Sled, though. We always had a different name for different events. That's where we got really good friends with him.
Yeah. My last conversation with him was he called me because I use a different type of primer than he was using. I use this not old lacquer or urethane. I use a poly primer. And he called me on those. I said, I want to ask you about that primer I see you using. And we talked and said, hey, man, I got a question. You don't talk for a half hour. He says, how much did you chop Exotica? Because I have a weird custom that I build and I want to do the same chop on the Impala roof. And he goes, you know how it is. I just did it till it looked right. So all this time, and then he passed away like within a month after that, or 2 months, and a couple months after. It was that summer he passed away, and that was the last time I talked to him on the phone. And now I follow the car. It's like, oh, it's here, and I know my buddy Murray's in Texas have done some maintenance on it. Well, they did some paint touch up on because it was flamed by Rod Powell. And my buddy Zane helped wet sand and buff it when they put the flames on it in between 2 shows. I'm a little history buff on custom stuff of cars I'm in love with. Well, I found out that the guy that helped Rod Powell years ago, he was shining it up and doing paint touch up. It was going to be at the Roadster show, which it was. So I called this Mark and I go, I want some measurements off of that car. Is it cool? He goes, well, I'll send you whatever you want. I go, can I bring a tape measure to the Roadster show? So I have notes on all the measurements of where the chops that Gary just did it till it's right. I spent 45 minutes in the booth on Sunday morning with my tape measure measuring. I can tell you exactly how much it's chopped, But Gary didn't want that, so I'm not going to put that on the podcast for public knowledge. It's on my notepad though, on how much that car's chopped. So, but that's how the artists, the custom guys, you just do it till it looks right. I don't know. Match the other side, and there we go. So, yeah, Gary was a master, definitely.
When we met him, he had that Ford.
Huh?
When we met him, he had that Ford.
Yeah, he did.
54,
Yeah.
56 Ford.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't
You
see-
gotta know, I'm growing older. And
We all
my
are.
memory bank is full.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
See this? I wear slip-on shoes because I learned too many things. I forgot how to tie my shoes. See, there's only so much. You learn something new, it pushes something else you learned early on.
You're
Yeah.
young. That's good.
yeah,
You are where you are. It helps us.
so what you're doing is good.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that
And Chris Ryan and you know, all the
Yeah.
Hall of Famers we've
what
had.
you did for helping move Darryl's everything. He's
We hate to.
close to family as you can get.
Carrie was cussing him this morning when he wasn't around to defend himself because they've bonded and they pick on me.
I
So-
got Darryl to have a burrito for dinner the other night. He's not a Mexican.
You
man.
know he's not.
His
No.
granddaughter says, "Oh, you
We
can't."
never went to Mexico.
No.
We went to a Chinese one of them where they do
Yeah.
the thing right there one evening, all this. We leave there, go out. He said, now let's go eat.
I can hear him say that.
Didn't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've both been on diets and have lost some weight. Well, this week we've been with Darryl since Wednesday, and he eats real good food,
Yeah.
but not health food, but like proper eggs, the best eggs you can buy, the best bacon you can buy. Try bacon and eggs and like cook breakfast. I've been there enough. I know where the pans are cooking breakfast. I know how everything has to be warm at the same time and how the bacon, it's a very specific person. But we ended the night with ice cream. Like once a cinnamon roll. He threw a fit at Tally's the other day until they found him a cinnamon roll in the back. I think they were cooking him for the morning, and he goes, "I knew I wasn't leaving here till I got one." And she had it. He wasn't with us this morning, and she had donut for breakfast. She goes, "It's Darryl's fault." So, but if you know how Darryl is
Oh, yeah.
and his feelings,
Let him know.
he
know
thanked
him.
us the other night for what we did, and he actually told me and Carrie in our truck that he loved us.
Well,
Daryl said that out
Yeah,
loud,
man,
and we
no.
about cried. I mean,
Daryl,
I've been lucky to spend a lot of time with him. And I was there last fall, and you came over and had lunch, and stayed at the Starbird house. I've seen him in his underwear. I've helped him pack his clothes. I've seen him.
Well, I was attached to Bill Hines too.
Yeah.
So he called us on a New Year's call about 1:00 in the morning. I still have it on my phone. Darryl called on Happy Mother's Day this year, and I've got it saved.
My first time I ever tried talking to Bill Hines was at a KKOA event. I believe it was at the Merc Deuce reunion in Davenport. I know it was at Davenport. If it wasn't there, because you did a Lead Sled Spectacular, it was one, but it was like, she went back to the hotel or something. And I was like, I'm going to stay and I'm going to just hang out before the band. You always had the band late at nights. So I'm just hanging around with all the custom guys. That's why I love the Lead Sled shows.
Hanging
So it's like custom guys. It's me and Chris Ryan are. I'm lucky to know a lot of people. I knew Boyd Coddington. He was nice to me, and I knew Barry Lobeck, and I knew all these people. Like I say, it's almost like people when they say they've shake the hand of Sinatra. I've shook the hand of all these guys, and I've had breakfast and dinner with these. But like me and Chris Ryan says, like you go to Salina, you just go. It took me 45 minutes to walk in the one day because I just kept going from tent to tent, talking to all these Hall of Famer guys, and then and hanging out with Jack, and it's just the custom guys are like no other people that they are. It's like no egos. If you have a question, they'll help you. Custom guys are a different breed in a very good way.
Barry
I just love
Lobeck had just been Hall of Fame. And it wasn't very long. He passed away. So he wasn't Hall of Famer very long.
Yeah.
But we knew him years and
Yeah.
years.
most custom guys respect the other custom.
Yeah.
That's the way they are.
Yeah.
They're a clan that stays together.
Yeah.
And they may look at their fellow custom guy's car and think, well, maybe I wouldn't have done it that way. Well, might not have done it this way, but
They
he
appreciate
did it his
they
way,
appreciate the
Right.
art, the craftsmanship, and the art.
and that's the way they cut the
Yeah.
cake.
But when I first tried, I sat underneath the tent with Bill and somebody else, Bill Hines,
Yeah.
and then I realized how that he could not hear. And this was in the 90s. So my last funny Bill Hines story was when I got inducted in the Starbird Rod and Custom Hall of Fame. It was in the backyard. My family's there. We're
Yeah,
sitting,
I
you know,
remember
in the
that.
backyard.
Yeah.
And it's Darryl's doing my induction and giving the speech to do. And Bill's phone's ringing. Well, it's so loud it sounds like a tornado siren's going off, so he could hear it. And he kept hitting silence. And
Yeah.
finally, and we have this. Carrie recorded the whole thing on a GoPro. We need to put it up on our YouTube channel. And finally, Bill answers his phone, and you know how he is. So he's screaming. So everybody's laughing, and he's like sitting kind of towards the front. Yeah. And my sister thought he was somebody from, what is that Wizard Show movie series? I don't know. Some movie series my sister watches.
You don't mean
The Hogwarts or something like that. She thought he was like the wizard guy or something like that. But anyway, he answers his phone and he goes, "What?" You know, he's just screaming. "What?" He goes, "I can't talk right now. I'm at Starbird's with all the bigwigs." And I'm like,
big wig.
he's a bigwig, you know, in the custom world, but he's with all the bigwigs. So it's like, and then everybody laughed and went on. But we have that. Like, Carrie's recording, Darryl talking, and then I went up, and yeah, it was.
Was it his
pretty awesome.
wife Lova? I wonder.
I don't know. He hushed her, and
Did
then
you
he
ever meet her?
once.
With who?
Yeah, I got to know his grandson pretty well.
She was Korean.
Lova was a good girl.
I went to a casino there in Solvang. I can't remember what town we were at.
We was in a gambling town.
She went to go gambling, and Bill wanted to go to bed, so we took him. He went to bed, and Jerry took me and Lola. And when we was walking in the casino, people was looking at us 'cause her eyelashes are real long, and she's a little Korean, and I said, "I think they think we're two hookers." They're looking at that. She's so silly. But yeah, and they'd been married a long time.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was so good.
Yeah.
Bill was, I mean,
It's been a good run for.
he probably had the messiest shop ever, but
Yeah.
he did everything.
But we're cat people, so he was a cat person. So he was a good
Yeah.
person because he was a cat lover.
Yeah, he is.
I remember his
Yeah,
grandson Mitch
Yeah.
has been moving all of his stuff, and Mitch built a new place. And
Yeah.
last summer it was like, "Hey, cat people, they're ferals, but you know you can pet some of them here." And you put pictures. Anybody would love one of Bill Hines's cat offsprings. And I was like, "Could we get a Bill Hines cat from California?" She's like, "No, we're not getting a cat from California." And I was like, "Wouldn't that have been cool to have one of Bill Hines's cats?" You know?
Keith
Yeah.
Dean was showing us their pictures of their
Yeah,
two cats.
Yeah.
They're really
this morning at breakfast, they were showing.
We're not cat people. We're car people. No,
Well,
There's a lot of custom people that are cat people.
There's actually a cat rodders page where people put shop cats online. I actually got Darryl Starbird's cat Bob. You know, he's got a custom cat because it doesn't have a tail. And we were out there in the sun, and he was rolling around
Oh, yeah.
on the Batmobile that's sitting out there. So I did a photo shoot with Darryl Starbird's cat
You know,
Bob.
he never wanted dogs or cats in the house, and Donna always had a dog. He
Yep.
did not like it.
yeah.
Now, when we go over there, he's got that Bob right in his lap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
The first time he goes, you know, he's trying to act tough, and I hate cats.
Yeah.
Bob's just
Yeah.
laying on his lap, and yeah.
we,
Okay, we've been talking for over an hour already,
I know.
and we need to let you get to your booth. But one more thing we need to talk on: the museum in Salina.
Yeah.
I have not been there yet. I'm totally lost the weekend being at the show last year, and I'm going to bring a car down, my '54. I'd like to bring down for a year. I need to do a little touch up. It was at Darryl's museum for about 4 years, and I'd like to bring it down.
no, that'd
But-
be great.
And
But,
put it in. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I know
I
Chris
love that.
Ryan brought a car, and you
Yeah.
keep cars at this museum. So tell me how that started with the
Well-
museum in Salina. Again,
Well,
they support that show
okay.
immensely in that town.
Okay, when we first moved into Salina, which was 2005, that was our first year, and you know, the first year, the park board director of parks, came to me and said, Jerry, would you like to move this? Because we were down to 200 cars back east, and we went into Salina. The first year, jumped to 600 cars. First year.
Awesome.
And so we knew there was something there. And that park director, he really liked us, and he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He said, Jerry, would you like to move this to our big park? I said, no.
How many years were you at the small park?
2.
Okay.
2. So we went 2.
Which really wasn't a small park. It was.
No,
Just
it
outgrew
was.
Yeah.
It's
It was a beautiful park. Yeah.
comparable to where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, oh no. I said, I'm not going to move because that's a kiss of death, moving a location of a car. Because I hadn't seen that part. And so we went home. We did the show and we went home. Well, I did. We live in Wichita. And it come around, I don't know whether it came to me or what, but
He's talking about the museum.
well, this is what I'm getting
This
at.
leads up to it, I think.
It was cold. It was a
Well,
cold.
DeVona's going to step out and go, and we're going to finish with Jerry. We want to thank you for your time.
Yep.
And like I said earlier, I have a person that's in charge of me, which is my wife, Carrie, and you are in charge of Jerry. So she's
Yes.
going to go get to the booth, and we're going to finish up with the museum here. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a full-time job. Two of them.
Two of them.
Yeah, thank you.
Go for it, babe.
Gotta get to work.
So, bottom line for that, it was meant to be. That's all I could. That's what he explained.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. I was flabbergasted that we jumped to 600 cars. That 6 something. It was, wasn't even 600. But anyhow, we went back to Wichita after that show. And we were living there at the time, and it was a cold, I think either December or January show day. It was a Sunday, and I looked at DeVona and I says, you know what? Let's get in the car and drive back up the Salina. I want to see that park that they're talking about. And that's what we did. And I pulled into the park, and of course in winter, there wasn't no leaves on the trees, the grass was not green like it is. And I parked the car there where the shelter building is there. And I got out and I walked out in the middle of that grassy area. And I just stood there. And I'm like this kind of guy, but you can believe it if you want to. But it came to me. There is something here that needs to be. And I went back and I home and called him. I said, is that deal still on about that park? Yeah, and we're going to give it to you if you want. I said, well, I'm going to try it.
And this
So-
park is beautiful.
I know.
I mean,
It's just beautiful.
yeah, there's
But-
room for probably 3,000 cars out there.
Yeah.
And the flower garden is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just to walk around and get away from the cars for a little bit, the park is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, but you're right about you're smart enough to figure this out. Yeah, and basically, what we would do from that point on for 15 years now, we have a meeting, me and or DeVona and I and our officials. We meet in Salina, and we meet with town hall, all the individual things of make Salina what it is, and we talk it over, and the city manager's there, and after the meetings, I asked him. I said, Have you ever thought about a museum here in Salina, being where you're at with the crossroads of America? I said, this would be an ideal place for a museum. And he said, no, we had never thought about it. So this city manager that was in charge there, every year I'd kind of laughingly kid him, you need this museum, you need this museum. And finally, on about the 5th year, he called me, the city manager. He says, Jerry, you're finally going to get your museum. I said, do what? He said, you're going to get your museum. The state of Kansas has gave $4.5 million to the city of Salina to build a museum, car museum. They only got one stipulation. It's got to be automotive related museum. So that means it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, what are you doing? Are you lost? That's the quietest I ever.
We're recording a podcast here, and here we have one of Darryl Starbird's grandsons, Bryce.
Right.
That's actually kind of in charge of the show here. So
It's my buddy.
That's good.
You asked.
that's why I love recording at shows. All these people come through, and it's like, you're doing a good job, Bryce. You're doing a very good job. You don't have to be quiet. We know you're here now. It's okay. You get in your museum.
So anyway, yeah, but it's going to have to be. The state says it's got to be automotive. Here's the name. The Salina Educational Automotive Museum of America.
It's a mouthful.
That is the one. Well, since then, and I'm on the board too, but we've decided to shortcut it with called a garage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's officially that.
Yeah.
And they're happy with it. So what I'm getting at is we took that money, the city did, and they bought this old 1800s train building,
Mm-hmm.
all brick. Railroad tracks are still there and everything, and it's still active. And we went and looked at it, and we created a board, more or less, to go by. And I told him, I said, here's what I'm going to do with KKOA. I said, all I want is half of what you spend money on to make a museum. I want half for KKOA, and I don't care what you do with your Corvettes and your Model Ts and all that crap over there. So we agreed on.
But I think that's what makes what I hear makes that museum so special is, yes, it's the KKOA custom, but there's also the other stuff for the other people too. And the kids like everything. And the quality on both sides of that museum, I hear, is absolutely amazing. And on the custom side, you get people to donate or not donate, you display, and you leave them for a year.
Yeah.
So it's fresh all the time. People are traveling through. So if you leave a museum that's the same for 10 years, it loses its pop. But if you keep stuff fresh in there, like Chris Ryan's had 2 cars in there already, hasn't he? Or 3? At least 2.
Yeah.
The Continental. Now he's got a Caddy in there.
Yeah, they that. But what it did, they took that. There was actually they bought 2 buildings. They built a building here and a building here. And this here was dirt. It was, rail, but between them. So when they bought all that land.
Mm-hmm.
And now that there is the lobby
Okay.
where you come in to the museum.
Which I hear it's got a lot of like interactive stuff and like
Yeah.
touch screen for the kids, and
Yeah.
there's like
All
a
kinds.
simulated welder, how you can weld, and like it's a really classy place. Really.
Well, that's there again. You know, I said, they asked, "What do you think about Jerry?" I said, "I don't care what you all do on both sides of that lobby. You can use the lobby all you want to.
Mm-hmm.
All I want is that part for the KKOA."
Yeah, and you've got your
And
Hall
I
of
don't-
Fame inductees listed on the wall and everything, don't you? Yeah,
And
it's
they
really
don't tell me what to do. I don't own it, but I just let them know. No, you guys don't know what custom is.
yeah.
Almost, I try to do it kindly. But I don't want no Model T over here.
Right.
I don't want no Corvette
Yeah.
mixed with.
You don't even want a Duesenberg over there.
No, I don't want none of that. But it was surprising they did let Chris put that Continental over there. But we were full. They had no alternative. Same way with that new one he just built now. But anyway, bottom line, the museum is there, and it's 4 blocks away from the park.
Which we didn't
That's-
realize. when
Yeah, we
were
could have
there. We thought it was
walked all the
farther.
way around downtown, and we
Yeah.
didn't go to the
We
museum.
had no idea.
Or we found it. I think it was closed, or I don't know. But yeah, we didn't make it there. We're gonna make it there this year.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put a tour together to come to Salina this year, bring some guys and do a road trip and a couple tour stops and bring some more people to the show. It's a great event. I think we're going to let you go and get back to your booth. So I want to thank
Yeah.
you. You can check out CustomKempsofAmerica.com for the website for all the information on the Salina Lead Spectacular and Maggie Valley. And I just want to thank you for me and my wife for all you do for the custom car world. Again, I grew up going to KKOA events with my great uncle before I had a driver's license, and that was when we built a custom for ourselves. It's like, I want to go to a KKOA event, and it's great attending them, and thank you for everything you've done for the industry.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, you and your lovely wife. Yes, it's folks like you that can talk for us and get the word out.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to do it. So we're going to let you get to the booth.
Okay.
And again, signing off, Tim and Carrie with Jerry, and a little bit ago, DeVona Titus. So thank you very much.
Hey welders, ready to upgrade your gear and save some serious dough in the process? The Miller Build with Blue Savings and Rebate Program has you covered. Find amazing deals and cashback rebates on a wide range of Miller products, from welders to plasma cutters and everything in between, all backed by our 3-year warranty. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of the Miller Build with Blue program now. Visit us online or stop by your nearest Miller distributor today to start saving.
That was another great episode of The Strange Motion Way with the Kustom Kemps of America
KKOA.
founders, Jerry and DeVona Titus.
It was great having DeVona in there. I wish you guys could have seen her face expressions and how she was always using her hands to stop him from doing things. But no, it was really a great interview. Can't wait to, now that we know what we're doing a little bit more, and get some more video with our new edits that we have coming out.
Yeah, this was done over a year ago
Yeah, a year and a half ago, I believe.
at the Tulsa Starbird Indoor Show. We just grabbed a room and kind of started
over.
interviewing some people. So it was really great to sit down with Jerry and DeVona. Of course, Carrie, if you watch the video of this, put a little memorial. They did lose their daughter since we recorded this.
So what do we have coming up next week, Tim?
Next week is another, I don't use this, a lot of people do their hashtags on social media and they call stuff game changer. Well, this guy was definitely a game changer in the industry. Tom Taylor, designer, journalist. Man, he started the smoothie stuff with Boyd Coddington. He designed not Cadzilla, Shazoom. Shazoom. it's amazing. Pay attention to this next one coming up next week. Towards the end, there's some pretty good information on what he's been trying to do in the industry and hasn't got it quite handled yet. I'll just leave
We
that out
recorded
there.
this last Sunday, and I can guarantee you there's going to be a take two.
Yeah, he didn't actually
Not a
want to
take
do
two,
it.
a second episode.
It took us a while to get it. Both of us had some personal stuff come up and had to cancel a couple times. And then he got to talking, and we did well over an hour, and we missed some stuff that we're going to go back and do a part 2. So tune in next week. Thanks for listening to the Strange Motion Way podcast.